Tonight, we are privileged to have with us Raz Frohlich, who on the morning of the 7th of October was drafted into the reserves. Together with his unit, he entered Kibbutz Be'eri and under intense fire, rescued many members of the kibbutz who were under attack. Raz currently serves as Executive Director of Ort Israel, the largest network of schools in Israel. Previously, he served as General Director of the Israeli Ministry of Culture and Sports and has held various leadership roles. Raz holds an MBA with a specialization in strategy and entrepreneurship and is married with 2 children living in Kochav Yair, approximately 30 kilometers from Tel Aviv. Raz, the people of Israel and Jewish people around the world have lived with the wound of October the 7th for 159 days. Nearly 3,000 terrorists infiltrated kibbutzim and towns near Gaza. And if it wasn't for people, individuals such as ourselves, who put their lives in danger to save others, the devastation would have been so much worse. Raz, on the 7th of October, you were holidaying outside of Israel. How did you return to the country?
So good evening, everyone. It's good to be here. And of course, thank you for the JNF team for hosting me here. I couldn't think of a different place from Be'eri 7th of October than the place I was beforehand. We were in a week in Greece, as I was a skipper of 8 of my friends. We were having the time of our lives in Greece, in the beautiful Greece, in the blue Mediterranean Sea. And we were there until the October 7th. I can remember also that on October 7th, the Saturday morning, on 2 a.m., we were on a taverna in Greece, singing and drinking and summarizing our journey. 4 o'clock in the morning, we were heading down the airport, and we should have a departure at 7 a.m. 6:30 in the morning, we started to get some news from the net. We understood there is a missiles barrages towards the Israel country. Something very unique that it happened in such a large amount of rockets. So each and every one of us called his house, and make sure that everyone is in the white shelters. And at 7 o'clock in the morning, we headed in departure from Greece toward Israel without even knowing if the airplane will land at the end in Israel. There was a doubt about it.
So Raz, okay, I mean, like many other Israelis, you made your way back as quickly as possible to the country to help. What actually occurred when you arrived in the country and being called up for duty?
I even remember that during the flight, several people said that on the plane that we need to do A or we need to do B. And I thought to myself in the head that at the end, I will find myself in Gaza Strip in the evening. I thought to myself, I didn't even imagine that it will happen. We landed in the airport. I rushed outside and see a huge number of calls and WhatsApp from my teammates and my soldiers and my commanders, and understand that I have an emergency call to report on duty to my military base. I rushed outside, took a taxi, enter my house. I have a special bag in my house. It's not the first time I got an emergency call. Hugged my wife, told my kids not to worry, and took my car and rushed to the military base. So that was the experience of rushing home and spent there less than 15 minutes.
So at that point, you didn't necessarily know the extent of what had happened.
I didn't know at all. During the ride, also to my home and back from the home to the military base, the radio didn't stop to say the alarm. Whenever a missile is fired against a specific place, there is a stop in the radio usual talking, and what's happening there is a red alert. So the entire ride was red alerts or phone calls from my mates.
Okay. Can I ask, we spoke previously over coffee and you mentioned that you landed by helicopter on the outskirts of Kibbutz Be'eri. I can't imagine what you came across then. What happened next?
First of all, getting out of the chopper from the noisy, very loud noisy of the chopper to the outside, it's something that's hard to imagine. We didn't know most of the flight that we are going to land in Be'eri. There was uncertainty regarding the destination. 5 minutes beforehand, they said that we are going to land in Be'eri. I know Be'eri. I was there several times in different situations. Be'eri is located 4 kilometers from Gaza Strip. You can see in the map regarding Be'eri, it's in red. We landed 1 kilometer east from Be'eri. And what shocked me the most is that we really didn't know where is the enemy and where is the other units. We wasn't sure for it. Another important remark regarding that is that though we land and we saw Be'eri, we heard a lot of noises from there. Explosion, gunfires, and a lot of smoke. So we understood that something very bad happening there in Be'eri. But it's not something that we really can understand. We really understood in this time what really happened there.
Okay, can I ask, as a military commander, I understand you had to make a decision of how to go into Be'eri. Maybe you can explain just a little bit what was going on, what you understood, what you didn't understood, and why you made certain choices.
The first choice, when we reached to the road called 232, which is a road that's entered into Be'eri, is what will be our path of moving, our combat movement. There was some debate. Some of the people said, some of our soldiers said that it's better to go inside Be'eri from the main gate. But our decision was different. We thought about moving by foot and entering Be'eri from the east. The main reasons that we decided to do this step in this movement was we didn't go to enter Be'eri from the place that the enemy expects us. And it's very difficult to say that because this is Be'eri, this is our land. However, the enemy was there for the last 6-7 hours and he's already did some ambush to the teams that entered from the main gate. We didn't understand it in this period of time, but this is what we thought it's going to be. The second reason is that we wanted to block the entrance from Gaza Strip to Be'eri and to the other side from Be'eri to Gaza. So we wanted to put some soldiers and stop the people go back and forth from Gaza to Be'eri. And the last reason that we wanted to enter from to a place that no one is there, no soldiers from the Israel soldiers, they didn't arrive to the east side. So our main reasons was we would like to get there as soon as possible.
Okay, you've mentioned over the past day that this was a particularly complicated war. Why would you say that?
Before we enter the choppers, our commander last briefing was that this is a very complicated situation. It's the first time we fight in our land. Usually when you enter a place, you know where is the enemy and where is your friend. But this is a very tough situation when you don't know and you need to fight in our houses. So it's very complicated, even in mind thinking, that you need to release hostages from their houses. The second complicated situation is that this is not a planned mission. This is something that's coming from now and from 0 to 100 in no time. So we didn't have the time to practice or to prepare anything. And the last thing that's very complicated, that's you don't really know where are the terrorists, and if you see someone, even if he's with a rifle, you don't know if he's terrorist or some of the kibbutz member or some of the military IDF soldier just lost his equipment and now joining the fight. Nothing is certain about it.
Okay. Raz, communication at that time must have been massively difficult, but from what I understand, your phone was buzzing with telephone calls. Can you share with us some of the desperate calls that you must have got from people living in Be'eri and what you could do about them?
I think, first of all, the people here need to understand this is the first time when we left the helicopters, no one was on the line. No one answered our communication, our radio communication, our army communication. There were no orders, no support, and nothing to consult with or to get something from. So the situation was very complicated because whatever you do, that's the only thing that's matter. And your decision is the highest decision. My phone was the only exit to the outer world. I received hundreds of calls. I can recall a very sad ones. When we entered the kibbutz, I received a call from someone called Eyal. And Eyal was calling me and say that he's in his house, in his shelter, with his families, and there are terrorists outside. And he received my phone number from a friend, and he understood that we are inside of Be'eri. So he asked if you can rescue him. I asked him, where are you located in Be'eri? And he told me that he's on the west side. So I told him that unfortunately I can't help him because I'm not in this area. So he must be strong, and I'm sure that someone else will come to rescue him, and hang up. So that's a memorable and very vivid memory I have from a different situation. That though I wanted to help everyone, I should focus on the mission that I have.
Well, I can only just imagine how difficult it must have been for you to have somebody at the other end of a phone who you couldn't help.
On the different call, just to add, it was service intelligence that's called me, and they said that's 100 meters from our side, from where we were. There was a house with only 14 years old girl. It's called them from her shelter and asked for help because her parents was murdered outside, and there is a terrorist on the second floor. That was the first house we reached, and as she told the service intelligence, we found her parents outside. The terrorist was killed, and we took her outside the kibbutz with an armored vehicle.
Oh. Raz, you mentioned earlier on that you were familiar with Kibbutz Be'eri, having previously been there, visited for whatever reason. When your unit entered the kibbutz this time, what were you confronted with? What did you see?
Maybe you can, in the presentation, there is some picture I took a month ago when I returned to Be'eri 4 months later. It was a horrible sight and views. I think the most strong memory I have from there is when we entered the kibbutz. We just cut the fence and entered the kibbutz, like 50 meters on the field. We just saw a golf car that's usually used by a senior citizen, and it was upside down, and next to him was a 19 years old lady that was shot in the head next to him, next to this golf car. And that's the first memory from Be'eri when entering inside. The kibbutz was ruined, the houses was burned in fire. In every house, we saw difficult situation and sites, but we also find 25 Israelis and rescue them during this fight.
Raz, I can only say that, we are here in the UK. We've seen photographs, whether it's on the television, whether it's on WhatsApp or Instagram, but you are bearing witness, having been there yourself during the fighting, to photographs we've seen. Raz, I understand that you were badly wounded yourself in the fighting in Be'eri. I would say so badly wounded that if help would not have arrived in time, we may not have been having this conversation. You've got a couple of photographs here. I think that we can celebrate with you your comparatively good health today. However, when you were wounded, things weren't as jolly. Could you tell us what happened and your experience from being wounded and actually getting to the hospital, please?
So we jump into Sunday. It was 3 a.m. after 12 hours of fighting. There are several events that happen in parallel. The first one is our team outside was starting a fire exchange with 6 terrorists. And in the meantime, in parallel, one of our teams entered into a house, and a terrorist in the second floor starts firing them. So we have 2 wounded soldiers in 2 different arenas. We started to my small team started to skip from one cover to a different cover, and then terrorists from our left, 6 or 7 meters from us, just pop up from the bush. He had a IDF uniform and just started shooting at us. From this shooting, a bunch of shots. What happens is I received 3 bullets, 2 in my chest and 1 enter into my 2 of my in the chest here. This is my Kurami vest stops them, and 1 on the left side just enters the chest into my lungs, 4 of my ribs, my scapula, and went outside, and also did some damage to the nerve of my left hand. So my left hand was paralyzed. Sorry. I felt into the ground. In my imagination, I thought when I be injured, I could give some commands and talk to my soldiers. However, in reality, it wasn't like that. I couldn't breathe and I couldn't speak. And my communication combat soldiers also injured and received 1 bullet in each of his leg. and that's the way we injured. We had several places that we have been. We took and we were rescued by an armored vehicle into Beirut Junction. From there, I had an operation, a field operation by a medic, by a surgery that's entered a drain chest into my lungs and saved my life. From there, we took an ambulance, an ICU unit, until the ICU was connect to the helicopter of Unit 669, and he landed in the field and took me to the Soroka hospital. Overall, it was 52 minutes from the time I injured in Beirut to the time I was in the emergency unit. The doctor said that if it be 5 minutes later on, as you said, I wouldn't speak with you now.
I think that we all say Baruch Hashem.
Yeah.
Raz, you've just mentioned, I don't know if you can share any information on how they work. We've been a little bit in awe of Unit 669, simply because what we understand is the reason many soldiers have not died of battle wounds is because they are moved so quickly and so professionally to hospital, whatever. Can you tell us a little bit about Unit 669?
A little bit. There is a saying that there is a 1 hour to reach the hospital. It's called the gold hour, the golden hour. And if you reach in this period of time, you can be safe. So 669 is a special unit. It's worked with in the airport, in the Air Force, and they rescue both by choppers and field teams, and they do, as you said, an amazing job in risking their life in order to bring us the wounded and injured soldier as soon as possible to the hospital.
Okay, quite amazing. And I understand they work on this 60-minute golden
hour.
Yeah, the golden hour. We've got a question. We've got some questions that are coming up, and I'd like to ask it now because it's very relevant. One of the questions is about how do you adapt from having fought in battle, and obviously there are many people who have done that over the past 3, 4, 5 months, and then moving to civilian life. How do the soldiers, men, women, how do they manage to adapt and move from one to the other?
First of all, personally, this is not my first emergency call. This is my 6th emergency call. I went to different places in the past, and a few days later on, you need to join the civilian life and act like nothing happened before. So it's kind of way of living for some of us. But overall, it's not easy. You need to change the mindset and the procedures and your mental concept. And this is something that's you need to practice on, and you need to be very strong in order not to fall apart. So this is something that's it's either that's you have a strong identity and the ability to change it, or you don't have, and probably you can't do that.
Okay. Look, I'd like to ask you a little bit of a broader question, because you're both a military and civilian leader. We're going to wait for some questions to come up, but in the meantime, what comes next, Raz? What comes next for the state of Israel? Where do you, as a future leader, where do you see the emphasis needs to be placed?
Okay. So whenever I get asked this question, I said the following: I'm not disturbed or concerned about the future of Israel in terms of security. We will win Hamas and Hezbollah and Iran on whoever threats to and aim to hurt us or do whatever we want, what we think of. This is not my real concern. If I need to point, my real concern is about our solidarity, our unity. What happened before 7th of October is disturbing me most than what happened afterwards, even though it was the largest disaster ever in Israel. So overall, what this is my life goal or my life mission is my belief that education and being unified and everyone, the solidarity of Israel is more important than anything else. And that's the reason I decided to join ORD as a general manager and decide to dedicate my life to education and to community and to social impact. That's I think that's a solution to the most of the problems of Israel as overall and the Jewish peoplehood in particular.
I must tell you, Raz, is that we think we're going to inspire you, but you're inspiring us. Your answers give us hope for the state of Israel. I have a question, but I want to ask anybody, if you do have any questions, please place them into the chat box and we will deal with them. Raz, you mentioned earlier that you actually were going to dedicate this evening to someone. Do you want to share with us a little bit about who this person is and why you want to do that?
As I told you before, maybe you can pick up his picture.
Here we are.
My entire lecture currently now is in memory of Ofek Russo. And I want to tell you about Ofek Russo. You all see him, his picture?
Yeah.
Yes. So Ofek was a person I didn't meet before. He was in a different team. And when me and my communication combat soldier were injured, we yelled medic. Someone yelled medic, not me. And Ofek was behind cover. He didn't hesitate, and he ran to save our life. He didn't reach us. 1 meter beforehand, one of the bullets was enter his body, and he fell on the ground, and we found him in this situation. He was dead immediately, but I know, and I will go on to say, to be my entire life, know that's one of my brothers tried to reach me, and he actually lost his life because he came to help our unit, our team. So yes, we have awe for him. We need to be we need to live our life so he can be proud of us.
Very beautifully put. Thank you. Well, Raz, there is a question that's come through, which is actually about yourself. The question is, have the events of October the 7th and you battling in Kibbutz Be'eri, and I'm sure elsewhere, changed you as a person? And if it has, in what way?
It's a good question. First of all, as I said, we were too busy before the 7th of October in fighting ourselves and turn ourselves upside down. We're too busy to fight on the Supreme Court, in the tension between ultra-Orthodox and secular in Israel. We forgot for 1 minute that we live in the Middle East, and the fragility of life, and it can come very quick to fight for your life in Israel. So as I told you before, the most important thing that I'm taking from October 7th is the importance of the unifying and the connection between the different tribes in Israel. That's one. The second thing is the rehabilitation process. This is a very long and tough process that I accompanied several of my friends beforehand, but I did it myself this time, and I have many lessons learned from this process, both to myself, to my family, to my friends, and to other injured and wounded soldiers that I'm now currently accompanying. And I think that we need to bear in mind those lessons learned, and it's an important one.
Okay, thank you. Being familiar with Kibbutz Be'eri, this is a question somebody has asked, and us having seen the absolute devastation in the kibbutz, will the people from the kibbutz be able to rebuild their lives?
I hope so. I don't know if it's a specific family will live Be'eri or not live or stay in Be'eri. But as a community and as a society, we must return to Be'eri. We must rebuild Be'eri. This is all we own to each and every family that's lived there, and to our enemy as a statement. The Gaza envelope will rebuild, and we must be, all of us, be involved to make sure this will happen.
Okay, so another question on something less personal, more, I suppose, countrywide. How is the country, the word used was interesting. How is the country recovering? The war is still being fought in the south. There are serious concerns in the north. But how is the country pulling itself together and moving on or recovering from the devastation of the 7th of October?
There are several aspects of these questions. I mean, economy or in terms of social. I think that Israel trying to return to a normal life, as much as we can say a normal life in Israel. Of course, the north is still under fire and heavy fire, while the south is less and less impacted by Hamas, and more influence to rebuild the villages and towns. However, as I said before, I'm not concerned about regaining the security in Israel. And I would like to see much more solidarity and worthy society. And this is the mission we need to concentrate.
Okay. Raz, before we bring the evening to a close, is there anything else you'd like to share with us?
Yes, I would like to put some messages around to finalize this lecture. And again, I would like to thank everyone who joined us. First of all, in Be'eri and the surrounding area, the great massacre of Jews since the Holocaust took place. And from there also began the first battle in building the future of the Jewish people. We have a new generation of 1948, ready for the mission of building the next level of the state of Israel. The sacrifice is immense and the price is high, but the motivation is at its peak. We are not fighting for revenge, punishment, or anything like that. We are fighting for the right to live as a Jew and in Israel, in our own country. but the great mission will be to build ourselves as a worthy society. And here is also the great sobering realization for all of us. Without the Jewish people and shared destiny with it, we are just another country. We all made mistakes in the relationship with the Jewish people in the last decade, maybe even more, but no more. We should build together this Jewish peoplehood, and I think that's a very large mission we have for all of us.
Raz, I'm looking at the messages that are coming up. You are a hero in every sense of the word. If I can add the word, an incredibly humble hero. I want to thank you on behalf of JNF UK and on behalf of all our viewers. Thank you for your incredible bravery, and we wish you a full and firm recovery. And איך אומרים, Am Yisrael Chai. Have a good evening and Toda Rabba. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.